Call to worship is a responsive reading taken from the Hebrew Bible and the 19th Psalm. I will read the light print if you will respond by reading the emboldened print. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims God's handiwork. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night pours forth. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard.
Yet their voice goes out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the earth.
In the heavens, God has set a tent for the sun.
Like a bridegroom from his wedding canopy, it comes out with strength.
Its rising is from the end of the heavens, its circuit to the end of them.
And nothing is hid from its light. Nothing is hid from its work.
I'm going to do the invocation and welcome in the opposite order. I'm going to do a welcome and an invocation. And so welcome to this campus. As we wrote on the back page of the bulletin, whether you are aware of the legacy or unaware of the legacy, the Renger and Ergel families have a great deal of history intertwined with the history of this place, Pfeiffer University, a historically Methodist university. There's a statue that you will note on the other side of the president's home, and that is the statue of Miss Emily Pruden, a woman who was deaf and a woman who suffered from a debilitating lower body condition that some days just left her in the bed. Late in the 19th century, nevertheless, she came to this region from close to Ohio, even though her birthplace was in Connecticut. And she would gather young people together if she saw gifts in them. And she particularly focused on low-income families and families that she sensed weren't emphasizing education with their children. And on page 1 of her biography, she's very clear in the 19th century that race was not part of her thinking. She preferred to gather black children, white children, and Native American children, interestingly enough, together, and got in a little trouble for that. But nevertheless, she persevered. The Pfeiffer family, Emily was a bit at a loss about what to do with these children as they became older teenagers. But the United Methodist Women of North Carolina and the Pfeiffer family, who was really headed by a pharmacist turned chemist turned inventor of the formula that led to Listerine and Certs and other fresh breath products, endowed a large fund that led to the creation of this place for young people. One of the 5 largest scholarship funds today I should say 2 of the largest 6 scholarship funds today for young people who choose to attend this 135-year-old institution are from the Renger families, and the other name that shows up there is the Ergel families. And this fund makes education possible in a way that is consistent with the original vision of Emily Pruden. It allows young people who are gifted but may not have all of the advantages that you and I have had as children, not that I know each of you, but I know a good portion of you, to attend university, to study under men like Joe Judge or women like Tanya Judge, his wife who serves here, to be mentored and to know and to be known. And so thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We've been thanked all day and all week and all month. This service is really an outgrowth of a life well lived, obviously, but a desire for us to do well by a family who has always held us close to their hearts. And so thank you so much. I'm going to pray. David, would you like to say a few words after Joe sings? So I'm going to pray, and then Joe will come and sing, and David will say a few words. Let's pray. God, we are often busy people, and we often fool ourselves that our busyness is what keeps the world rotating on its axis. Thank you for Sabbath moments. Thank you for pulling us away from the cares of our day-to-day lives. Thank you for helping us to pause and to remember, to laugh together, perhaps cry together, and remember a woman who pointed us in many instances to the best of things. Guide us. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Amen.
Thank you for being here. You honor Anna. And our families must thank Dr. Bullard, his staff, his associates for arranging, preparing, and providing this service for Anna. And very importantly, we thank President Bullard and those at Pfeiffer University for allowing the opportunity for us to place Anna's earthly remains near those of her beloved father and those of her mother. Anna grew up in Albemarle, as you all know, and she was proud and happy to be a Grit, and she would share that with everybody. She was proud to be a girl raised in the South. She grew up to be a lovely, gracious Southern lady. She could hold her painting brush or hold a child and not leave fingerprints. Her friends I have found from grade school all the way through the last 15 years of her life in New Bern use the same adjectives to describe her. She was creative, caring, very joyful, and I would add to that spontaneous. We would be dining out, and Anna would get engaged with the wait person and want to know their story. And if their story was one of striving or one of struggle, she would give me her look, and that would mean double or triple the tip. And then, because of our military presence in the New Bern area, she would look around the room, and if she saw a young family, she would ask the waiter, "Would you see if that's a military family?" And she soon dropped that, and she would just ask the waiter, after giving me her look and getting a nod, "Would you please tell that family that their check has been taken care of?" She cost us a lot of money. We got to run up a pretty big bill at Ruby Tuesdays. A Christmas tale. 4 years ago, she learned from a dear friend of hers in her garden club about a second grade teacher who was having a little difficulty financially because she was buying so many supplies for her students that she felt they really needed to enhance and get proper education. Anna wanted to assist her, so she called the principal, set up an appointment. We went to the principal's office. She went to the classroom, knocked on the door, went in and took care of the class while the teacher came out. I'll never forget the look on this young teacher's face. She looked like a dog knowing it was going to get beaten. And Anna told her of our reason to be there. She gave her a check, and the lady broke down and cried, as did Anna. And then Anna gave her a stack of envelopes, each envelope containing $10. And she said she wanted the teacher to give each one of her pupils that envelope so they could experience the joy of buying a present for a parent. And as we were leaving, Anna said, "I cannot recall a Christmas gift, received or given, that made me happier than I am this moment." And then she said something else, "My daddy would be proud." And I've thought a lot about her father. I never got to know the man, but she had a tremendous admiration and affection for Mr. Renger. And what I've learned about him is that was deserved. Very briefly, he immigrated, if you all know the story, but some of the people seeing may not, immigrated at age 8 from Vienna to America with his parents and 2 brothers, quit school at the 8th grade, to help support the family, help educate one of his brothers who later became a cardiologist on the West Coast. He, through his ingenuity, intelligence, mechanical aptitude, got involved in the knitting machine business of the hosiery business and relocated to Stanley County and ended up repairing, installing, and selling this equipment and was quite successful. Because of a change in the industry, he retired at age 50 and devoted his talents to continuing making money by investing in the stock market. Very successful. He supported his family. He educated all 5 children, with most of them earning a postgraduate degree, and left money, as Dr. Bullard has said, to Pfeiffer University to educate the children of other parents. He was worthy of her admiration. Another attribute of Mr. Renger that Anna bragged about having was, we talked about his mechanical aptitude. She allowed me to leave a trailer for a 22-foot sailboat at her home in Oak Island. I returned about 2.5 months later and found that 2 16-foot and two 10-foot, 2x6 boards had been removed, recarpeted, replaced with new and more secure bolt holes. Surprised me. I got to rummaging around her storeroom and found power tools everywhere, drills, sanders, routers, and a picture, and I think it was a reproduction, of Rosie the Riveter. And I always kidded her about Rosie the Riveter, and she took it as a great compliment. And she would always say, "I'm my daddy's girl." I learned very shortly thereafter she had completely rescreened her second floor full-width porch in Oak Island by herself, requiring the hanging of 3 doors. I asked her how she did that. She said, "It was simple. I used various thickness stacks of Reader's Digest so I could position the hinge properly." She made for our boat years later I can't think of the word now, the sunbrella futons with invisible zippers, and it was great. And she, later a professional canvas man was on our boat, and he commented, "That is really good work. Whoever did your canvas did a great job for you." On a more personal note, these attributes of her father, the mechanical, as a volunteer with hospice, my last patient was 96 years old, a retired commercial fisherman from Beaufort. And every week when I'd visit this gentleman, very early on, he would ask the same initial question and follow it with the same follow-up questions. And the question was, "Enough about me, David. What do you do for fun? Do you hunt? Do you fish? Do you play golf? Now, if you drink or chase women, I don't want to know because I'm a good Baptist." Well, he stumped me because I'd given up hunting about 30 years earlier, golfing about 10 years earlier, and I was happy, content, but I couldn't figure out why. So that night at dinner, I was thinking about it as Anna and I were preparing dinner, and I was, as usual, operating as her sous chef, and it came to me. I was having fun. Preparing dinner with Anna was fun. I never knew when she would attack me from behind and tickle me, where she would stick an unidentified morsel between my lips, put cold, wet hands on the back of my neck, or invite me for a couple of bars of dancing. Living with Anna was fun. Boating almost always was a joy. Washing the car, you knew you were going to get wet, it was just how or when. And buying groceries, she would walk down the aisle assuming various gaits from her equestrian life, various postures and personalities as she played at picking out her spices and her produce. And I realized she made life fun, but there was something else. She made me feel special. Special is special. And if you have ever had that feeling or have it, you know what a powerful force it is. And it contributes so much vitality and joy to your life. In closing, I would like to read from Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet. In thinking about Anna, her life, her beautiful smile, and the occasion that brings us together today, these words seem appropriate. I would that my life remain a tear and a smile, a tear to give me understanding of life's secrets and hidden things, a smile to draw me nigh to those of my kind, a tear to unite me with those of a broken heart, a smile to be my sign of the joy in existence, a sign of my joy in existence. The waters of the sea become vapor and rise in our cloud, and the cloud floats above the hills and the valleys below until it meets the gentle breeze falling, weeping to the fields, and then joins with the brooks and the rivers to return to the sea, its home. And so does the Spirit pass as a cloud over the mountains of sorrow and the plains of joy to meet the breeze of death and return to whence it came, to the ocean of love of beauty, God.
Perhaps love is like a resting place, a shelter from the storm. It exists to give you comfort. It is there to keep you warm. And in those times of trouble, when you are most alone, the memory of love will bring you home. Perhaps love is like a window, perhaps an open door. It invites you to come closer. It wants to show you more. And even if you lose yourself and don't know what to do, the memory of love will see you through. Oh, love to some is like a cloud, to some the strongest steel. For some a way of living, for some a way to feel. And some say love is holding on, and some say letting go. And some say love is everything, and some say they don't know. Perhaps love is like an ocean, full of conflict, full of pain. Like a fire when it's cold outside, and thunder when it rains. If I should live forever, and all my dreams come true, my memories of love will be of you. If I should live forever, and all my dreams come true, my memories of love will be of you.
I apologize in advance for reading, but I've got a lot I need to remember to say. I'm Joni, and I'm Anna's oldest niece, and I'm here today to speak for Jennifer and Kelly and our family to celebrate the life of our sweet Anna Mae, a person who truly embodied sunlight, spirit, and love. Anna loved all adventures, music, people, and animals. She had a kind and generous heart and was willing to help any soul that was in need. When she was young, Anna and her brothers could be found up at the crack of dawn, waiting on the sidewalk for the milkman, or out hunting for snakes and turtles to bring home, which their mother would shoo out of the house, only to find them back again in a few days. Anna was a prankster and loved playing practical jokes on her brothers, Johnny and Jimmy. She had a quick wit, a great laugh, and that smile that we will always remember. She loved her sisters, Joan and Carol, as well, and together they navigated some of the best of times and some of the hardest. But the bond they established only reaffirmed their love and strengthened our family. I would assume that everyone who knew Anna knew how much she loved spending time at the coast, and for this family, for as long as I can remember, it's been our place. It's been our respite, at times a place of healing, a place we have gathered for countless family meals, vacationed, and celebrated family milestones, birthdays, and weddings. Anna had so many fond memories there, from her dad doing handstands on the beach, captured in a snapshot she treasured for years, to spending time with nieces and nephews, riding the waves and playing in the deep water. Anna enjoyed waking up at dawn with Jennifer to search for shark's teeth and go shelling, or to walk for miles and miles with her beloved golden retrievers, Tori and Allie. Gifts and her nephew shared. When I think of Aunt Anna, I think of a woman full of life, always wanting to have a good time and to help her family and friends have a good time. My earliest memory was her taking me out past the breakers at Ocean Isle. I might have been timid, but she gave me the courage and told me how much I was going to love it. Another great memory of her was when she took us to Myrtle Waves. That's the kind of thing that only the coolest of aunts does. We had the best time, spoiled in fun and love. Later in life, the ocean and the water parks were not as frequent, but Aunt Anna was always there to celebrate in our successes and to love our children and our pets. She was so encouraging and had so much love to share with creatures of all sizes. We're going to miss her dearly. I would guess that all the nieces and nephews could agree that Anna Mae was the best babysitter. She loved to tell the story of taking Deep down the Myrtle Beach water slide when he was maybe 5 years old. She said he screamed, "Oh my God, Aunt Anna, oh my God, let's go." Anna had a way with kids. She was our aunt, but she was also our friend. And Aunt Anna pretty much embodied that saying, "Go big or go home." When she was in charge, a good time was had by all. Jennifer and I were slightly older than the others, so we were fortunate enough to spend time with Anna Mae in the 60s and the 70s. During one of our last conversations, Anna said to me, "You know, you were my little girl before I had a little girl." Anna made this buck-toothed, scrawny, pixie-wearing kid feel special. She would spray me with a little perfume, apply a dab of lip gloss and a tiny bit of blush, and off we would go. And then, of course, there was Jennifer, her mama's pride and joy, partner in crime and forever sidekick. Jennifer grew up in a loving home with a mother who mastered the art of work hard, play hard. Jennifer has fond memories of riding around in her mom's Z28, windows down, and listening to music. She and her mama loved riding horses and motorcycles, gardening and cooking, and spending time with the cousins, friends, and neighbors. And of course, there were animals, lots of animals, big and small. I know how much Anna loved you, Jennifer, and everyone who knew her could speak to how proud she was of you. She loved Kelly too. His big hugs made everything all right and brought her great comfort. We also know how fiercely you loved your mama. I guess the recurring theme here is love. I know how much Anna Mae loved her daddy, her mama. I know how much she loved me and our entire family and everyone here. If there was ever distance geographically, there was always love. Anna leaves behind a legacy of great, great love. In the past few weeks, I've had the opportunity to really reflect on Anna and her life. And there are two things that really stuck with me. Anna was brave. She lived her life. She wasn't concerned about what other people might think. She did things her way. She was passionate about family and friends, her artwork, her animals, her cooking, her flowers. And secondly, she knew how to have fun. She took time to really enjoy her life. Wherever Anna was, there was fun. In closing, I'm going to share a poem with you, and it was a poem that someone shared with me at my brother's passing, and then one that Jennifer brought up when we were talking about this service, and I felt like it was really fitting. I'm standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the moving breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She's an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that's all. She is just as large in mass, hull, and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone says, "There, she's gone," there are other eyes watching her coming and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes." And that is dying. Anna was truly our candle on the water, and today we remember the life of a wildfire spunky colt whose life, love, and spirit will never leave us. We will see her in the ocean sunrises, feel her around us in the warm sunlight, and celebrate her wherever and adventure lies, because you know that's what our sweet Anna Mae would want us to do.
Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever.
So thankful for your words, David and Joni. Just as I'm grateful as someone redirected me on the Old Testament reading for this morning and we could read it responsibly, I'm grateful for the choice of the New Testament reading. It's a very familiar passage to most of you. And most of Western civilization, even if church or synagogue is not a thing, we invariably hear this at one another's weddings, and so the New Testament reading is the Apostle Paul speaking to a very, very, very divided church, a very young and divided church at Corinth. And there's just a little more to it than weddings and the wonderful love between a husband and a wife. So I hope we'll consider all of our relationships and Anna's great life as we read these words. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and knowledge, and if I have all faith, even faith that moves mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all that I have, if I hand over my body to the fire, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will have its limit. For we know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the completion comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now there are these, faith, hope, and love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. The Word of God. It's my duty to give the eulogy, even though Dr. Judge and I knew Anna not as well as any of you. And so I will enter into this role in fear and trembling. Eulogy is a Greek word that literally means good word. Eu means good, and logos means word. And so this word is an old word of the church, and it typically means a good word about God, as you see it in the first 2 or 3 centuries. And at funerals in the contemporary era, it comes to be a good word about the deceased who helped us see aspects of God that we might not have seen had we not encountered her. You'll note I've entitled this talk, Seeking the Sunshine. And in so doing, in a way, I want to begin at the end. I begin with this notion that 2 or 3 of you have told me that in her final days, Anna wanted to feel the sun on her face. She wanted to feel the familiar, comforting breezes of the South Carolina coast, and that little slice of the South Carolina coast that many in this room love very dearly, and mostly because it's on the coast, but also because it's really close to North Carolina, the real Carolina, right? I hope Gibb is smiling on my Ocean Isle neighbor back there under that mask. Anna wanted the sound and the smells of the Atlantic Ocean coursing through her ears and her nostrils at the end. She wanted family around her, and they saw to it that happened. She wanted to be in that place not only because of the sounds and the smells and the feelings, but also because of the memories that place held, as Joni so eloquently described. So we begin at the end, but only really so that we can know a little bit more about the beginning and the middle. For Anna was a lot of things to a lot of people. And I had no idea how many people until I made a couple of lunch appointments with Albemarle friends this week. Many of you are here or watching online because Anna gave so much to you. You know that the Rengers, and Anna was a Renger as a child and a teenager, were born and raised in Stanley County. They were active members of the Lutheran Church in Albemarle, a church wherein today so many friends of Anna's are still active. Some of these friends I encountered just this week tell me that they attended school with Anna from kindergarten through 12th grade. There's a legendary local attorney, a 4th generation attorney at a law firm here called, guess what, Brown, and Brown. I happened, totally separate from my experience with Anna, happened to have a lunch scheduled with Charles Brown on Friday afternoon. We were to break bread together as he was headed up this way toward Blowing Rock. Charles went to school most days of his life with Anna. He shared several stories with me on Friday. He also went to church with Anna. And on Sunday evenings, they went to a youth group which was called Luther League. Charles told one story in particular about a snowball fight that happened immediately following Luther League, in which Anna vigorously participated and, in Charles's language, outdueled the boys. And a particular story about a snowball hitting one of the young men in the face and taking him out had us laughing until there were tears in our eyes. And those tears remained in Charles's eyes at the end of the conversation. And he said, "Tell her siblings what a good person she was to me." I'm thankful that Carol also shared some of these childhood stories. She spoke of being the youngest child, 7 years younger than Anna, the second youngest. She spoke of an Anna who loved the outdoors and adventure. She was artistically gifted, as some of you have already noted, and she was a doting playmate, sort of a big sister who had to mother sometimes, and she taught Carol to love flowers too, to walk in the woods daily, to not be afraid to hike Morrow Mountain. And I'm so sorry, Casey, I can't hear too many of these stories without noting a niece that would venture out into the ocean on a surfboard, or beat all the boys in tennis when we were living together in Laurinburg. And I'm so thankful that this spirit permeates your family. It appears that the mischief permeated the Renger household as well. I'm hearing something about an old white Plymouth called the White Elephant, and 2 hills and a valley that was between 2 hills, and some children who would take the White Elephant up one hill, put it in neutral, and see how far up the other hill it could roll. And I'm told that Anna would participate vigorously in these forms of mischief. Maybe I hope this rings a bell for some of you. From talks with Carol and her classmates, Charles Brown and Mr. Gene Starnes, it seems that she did ably participate in some mischief. The Renger kids went to the beach in the summers, as you've heard, and they would also travel to Pennsylvania regularly to see Mrs. Renger's parents. These stories of a wonderful, vivacious child and then teenager serve as a foundation for a woman who would clearly grow to be strong, apparently beautiful. She would love to take Jen outdoors as she had been outdoors, and taught her to love flowers and to love art, to love horses. Throughout her life, she didn't just love nature, she wanted those around her to experience that. You'll excuse me, but when I first heard David Hurst's voice, I was sitting at a swimming pool in Ocean Isle Beach, about 500 yards from Gib and Carol's house, and I'm looking over there, and I'm talking to David for the first time. But I'm reading this novel, Gilead. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel by a woman named Marilyn Robinson, and it's wonderful. And it's about an old pastor who has ventured into the Midwest, having been educated at a sophisticated seminary in the Northeast. And he's now with a congregation, and he's a little more progressive than his congregation. He has a little trouble translating his education and his book learning into his sermons and in a way that his congregation can understand. And he's living apparently as a bachelor for his entire life. But as he serves this congregation for 2, even 3 decades, one morning in the middle of an opening hymn, a woman slips in on the back row. And in his words, for the rest of that service, I saw only her face. I don't even remember what I said. His name's John Ames, and I commend this novel to you if you're interested in poetry, if you're interested in a life of the mind, and if you're interested in love, and if you're interested in nature. John takes a love for the countryside eventually and starts walking around and thinking about the great outdoors quite a bit. And near the end of the work, he says this, through Marilyn Robinson's pen, of course. "It has seemed to me that sometimes God breathes on this poor gray ember of creation and turns it to radiance for a moment or a year or the span of life. This is what I said in a recent sermon that I preached. There are two occasions when the sacred beauty of creation becomes dazzlingly apparent, and they seem to occur together. The one is when we feel our mortal insufficiency to the world, and the other is when we feel the world's mortal insufficiency to us. As to the first, I love the prairie. And there may have been a more wonderful first moment when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy, to quote Genesis. But for all I know to the contrary, they still do sing and shout, and they certainly might well. Here there is nothing to distract attention from the evening and the morning, nothing on the horizon to abbreviate or to delay. Here on the prairie, mountains would seem an impertinence from that point of view. Anna, like the main character in Gilead, took time to appreciate creation. She did not only love nature and the outdoors, she wanted us to lean into that reality as well. She, in a word, sought the sunshine. And may we all, as we remember her today, take a cue, take a hint. I'm looking at high-achieving people. And some of you, I know exactly who I'm looking at when I look at you. I'm looking at educated people. I'm looking at a few ladder climbers, and I know one when I see one because I am one. I come from a very competitive family myself. But if Anna has something to teach us, it is to stop and smell the roses, and to listen and to lean into beauty and to ask what it might have to teach us. The other part of creation that Anna loved, though, is you. She loved people. She loved humans. It has been startlingly clear to me, and in talking with you, the recurring theme is Anna made me feel special. It is a strong theme, in fact. It is almost a metaphor waiting to be unfolded before us, as if, like looking for shark's teeth on a beach, she could somehow enter a large room full of people. And just as she could find a small shark tooth on a beach, she could find the person in the room who needed to be known, whose gifts had yet been unnoticed, but who she could make feel special. I hate to bring him back up, but Charles Brown on Friday, we're having lunch, and Charles talked of getting very ill as a teenager. Charles was a high-achieving person, Moorhead Scholarship at UNC Chapel Hill. He gets very sick, and his parents are away on a European trip, and he has mononucleosis and is in the hospital for 14 days. As he worked to recover, who brought him his assignments every day in the hospital? Anna Renger, his old friend from Luther League. They had gotten older, and yet she was thoughtful enough to do that. As she grew, she continued to love others. Professionally, she invested her life in becoming an X-ray technician. As a mother, she cared for Jen. She taught Jen that it was good, even okay, to love race cars and horses and football. I mean, it was Arkansas football, but we'll forgive you for that, but football. That it was good to love horses and their power and their beauty, and by all means, love your father. Love your father, love your mother. Time and again, David and Jen noted that Anna wanted her ashes to be close to her father, close to her mother. Gene Starnes was my Thursday lunch date. That might be a name that's oft in the recesses to many of you, but he owns the only real local jewelry shop that we have here, and he's a fourth-generation jeweler here in town, and he talked about Anna's ability to transcend cliques in high school, to find the good in everyone. I return to our pastor friend. He realizes he is dying now, and he has a much younger wife, and they have a little boy, and he's not going to be around to see the little boy grow up. So he starts writing love letters to his 7-year-old son in the small amount of time that he had left. Son, this is an important thing, which I have told many people, and which my father told me, and which his father told him. When you encounter another person, when you have dealings with anyone at all, it is as if a question is being put to you. So you must think, what is being asked of me in this moment, in this situation? If you confront a smile, it is easy to return the smile. If you confront insult or antagonism, your first impulse will be to respond in kind. But if you think, as it were, this is an emissary sent to me from the Lord, and some benefit is intended for me here. First of all, the occasion to demonstrate kindness. Second of all, the chance to show that I do in some small degree participate in the grace that created me and saved me. You are free to act otherwise than as circumstances would seem to dictate. You are free to act by your own lights. You are freed at the same time of the impulse to hate or resent that person. You would probably laugh at the thought that the Lord sent her to you for your benefit, but that is the perfection of the disguise. Anna leaned into Paul's call for love, and in some ways she leaned into what Marilyn Robinson is writing today, that perhaps the way up, perhaps the way to success is love as much as it is competitiveness. Paul and Robinson are really echoing some of Jesus of Nazareth's themes here. The disciples didn't get it. They had been around him for 3 years, almost daily, and yet near the end of his life, they're arguing about who's going to get to sit closer to Jesus in heaven, right? 35-year-old guys arguing about this. And they had been privileged to be closest to him. Him who wanted to wash their feet after long, dusty walks. The one who went all over the world seeking out the marginalized. They really struggled with this. They really struggled with getting it. The great religions of the world, their definitions of success might be different than the world's definition of success. That the way in which Main Street or Wall Street or K Street might define success might look different than ours. Jesus seemed to think that often the way up, the way to climb the ladder, might just be to descend to someone's feet and wash them. Jesus and Anna and many in this room seem to sense that the way up might be to descend down into the suffering of the other and to be an agent of healing, whether through showing them good art or a flower or in the profession of medicine. This woman who in her final days wanted her loved ones nearby and the sun on her face spent a lifetime chasing that sunshine. She went to the middle of the country on one occasion, chasing it. She would go to the beach over and over. This woman, her life, Anna's life, calls us to lean into the grace of creation, to the grace of being born into a family like the one framed by her beloved father, born into a family with loving siblings who can barely talk about her legacy without weeping, born as a woman who gave people second and third chances because she had been given second and third chances, born a woman who knew the grace of having a child who followed her into the medical profession, who followed her in having the grace to know when to be busy and work hard and to know when to pull away and play hard. To have nieces and nephews who, whether on a beach or a boat or a water slide, are not yet cynical enough to hold back and cry with joy at new sounds, new smells, new sights, new touches. So thanks be to God for the life of Anna. I know she touched you all deeply, and I have certainly enjoyed reading and writing and hearing about her. My prayer is that we would lean into the lessons that she taught us and continues to teach us. Let's pray. God, we are thankful for these moments. They were not calendared weeks ago. We didn't get to choose the temperature of the day. Many of us didn't get to choose the location of the service. Thank you for stopping our lives. Thank you for giving us a saint worthy of remembering. Thank you for giving us the grace to hit pause and remember and ask what we will do next and what she would have us do next. We pray these things in your precious name. Amen. When peace like a